Hello, I am Mandisa Johnson with Atlanta Film and TV, and today we are having a conversation with Stephen Blake, Chief Executive Officer and producer of RAM Pictures International. RAM is creating spectacular, diverse blockbuster entertainment while breaking brilliant, undiscovered talent and financially endowing the nation's HBCUs. Stephen is also the producer of the high concept, character driven drama, Steal Away, which we'll talk about more during our conversation. Hi, Stephen. How are you today?
Hi, Mandisa. Great. It's already launching to be a great day.
I'm so glad you're having a great day. So could you give us some background about who you are and how you got your start in the film industry?
Sure. When I was 8 or 9 years old, an uncle gave me a Super 8 movie camera, a film movie camera, and I looked at this thing and had no experience with filming whatsoever. I lived in Altadena here, a town that's above Pasadena, and I immediately began making small films with the casting my friends in the neighborhood on the block as characters, casting my sisters as well. And I somehow figured out crudely how to edit. And I began doing animation actually on my own. I just began developing. I saw the possibilities in this camera. And then my mom enrolled me in a community film workshop called the Pasadena Art Workshops. And as it turns out, there was a great animator and filmmaker there called John Matthews, who mentored me and trained me up in filmmaking. And then I soon began working with another mentor by the name of William Moffat, who is a great documentarian, and he shot many commercials and TV specials. And then by the time I was in high school at Pasadena High School in the 10th grade, they were giving me permission to leave campus at lunchtime and drive down to Hollywood, where I interned on the KTLA lot, Channel 5 here in Los Angeles. There's a very prominent producer called Arnold Shapiro. And I got to intern for him, and that led to me doing a lot of commercials as a production assistant. And I worked very, very, very hard very hard. And my name spread because this is the guy that would just hustle. When I first got involved, I said, I will scrub toilets. I will do anything you need me to do. I made them an offer they couldn't refuse. It's like, bring me on board. I have got your back. I'll do anything. And I don't even want to get paid. As it turns out, I always did get paid. And that sort of launched my professional career as a production assistant. Then when I was about 19 years old or 20 years old, I began directing some segments for a show called Hollywood Close-Up here in Los Angeles for ABC television. And at the same time, I began to, I remember I was on a shoot for Pioneer Stereo, and there was a great cinematographer on this shoot. His name was Jordan Cronenweth, and brilliant. He's I'd say one of the 5 greatest cinematographers ever. He shot Blade Runner, the original, and Altered States, and so many. And I said, I want to be a cinematographer, actually. That's sort of the direction I wanted to go in. So I immediately began volunteering to shoot student films and anything I could get my hands on, just to start to sort of hone my craft in lighting and in composition. And then, as it happens, I got my first movie. Let's see, how did that go? Yeah, I got my first movie. It was a low budget film called Deadly Prey as a cinematographer. And that began a chain of films that I did. And around that time, Robert Townsend and the late Carl Craig contacted me. They were doing Hollywood Shuffle. They had been involved with Hollywood Shuffle for about a year or so. They'd been shooting sort of in piecemeal fashion. They would shoot a little bit, run out of money, save up, shoot some more, and so on and so forth. So during that time, I also was one of 3 cinematographers that shot Hollywood Shuffle. And that began a string of doing a lot of motion pictures, mostly genre films, horror films, action films, war films, where you have to work very, 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 very fast. The scripts were never anything to write home about, but they gave us a chance as a cinematographer and crew members to make it look as good as we could, and whatnot. So that ran for some time, and then one day, a friend of mine named Ron DeVoe, I was doing an EPK, an electronic press kit for an artist called Johnny Gill. And my friend Ron said, hey, would you come down and would you do the lighting for me and the sound for this interview? And I said, sure, Ron. So I went down to West Los Angeles where he was shooting this. And after the shoot at a payphone, I bumped into a producer named Sabrina Gray. I'd never met her before. She was on the phone right next to me. I could overhear that she was calling off a shoot. They had booked a shoot, but she was calling all the crew members and saying, don't show up, don't show up, don't show up, would postpone the production. She and I got to talking, and she asked what I did, and I said, I'm a film cinematographer. And she said, oh, that's interesting, because the owner of the production company and the director, Lionel Martin, really wants more of a feature film look for the music videos he's doing. And so she asked for my card, and I gave it to her, and I didn't think anything of it. But sure enough, she called back and she said, okay, that shoot that we were canceling, we're rescheduling now, and Lionel Martin would love you to shoot this music video. I said, okay. I have no designs or thoughts about shooting music videos at all. And that was a music video called Do Me for Belle Biv DeVoe. And that video became a huge hit, and that sort of launched my what would become a very rather large music video sector of my life and career.
Yeah, I remember that video back. I don't remember like exactly when, but I remember the video. So that's amazing. You have a very amazing story. So growing up, did your parents recognize your gift of the arts? And if so, how did they nourish the gift to facilitate growth? I know you said something about what was your uncle gave you the camera. So how did your parents nourish that gift?
So I was raised by a single mom, and no one had any idea that this uncle was going to give me this movie camera. So no one could have foreseen that. I couldn't have, my mom couldn't have. So once I took an interest in it, my mom was very active in getting me, she had to drive me repeatedly to the community filmmaking center. And then she would have to drop me off at my mentor's home. He and his wife lived at a church parsonage, and he would drive me into West Los Angeles to do documentaries with him. So she was very active. My mom really nurtured me in every way possible. When I needed film, she gave me the money to buy film. When I had to get that film developed, she gave me the money to get it developed. And she was just 1,000% supportive, and just really enabled me. That said, I was also very proactive myself. Once I got the fever for film, and I did very early on, I mean, you couldn't stop me anyway. So my mom kind of had to stay out of my way a little bit, but she did accommodate me as well as any mom ever or dad ever could.
Wow. Well, you pretty much answered my next question. I'm just going to go ahead and ask you this one. So, there's a lot of like upcoming filmmakers and directors. Do you have any advice, like pieces of advice you would like to share with those that are pursuing the same career path as you?
Absolutely. I would say first off, it's always good to learn the quote unquote rules. Explore, if you're a filmmaker, get really familiar with amazing movies of all genres. I mean, go back to Gone with the Wind, and that's a controversial film in terms of its content, but it is a brilliantly made film. Get familiar with mysteries, get familiar with action, get familiar with noir films back in the 40s and 50s. Watch even films that you might fear would bore you, like Lawrence of Arabia, for example. Watch those, because these are brilliant works of art that bring together direction, of course, so involving the artists that are cast and the direction of those artists, the production design, the costume design, the cinematography, of course, the choreography, depending on the kind of genre that it is, the editing, of course, oversight of the soundtrack. The composer composes for that, of course, but is working with the director. Get really deeply familiar with the most amazing films across all genres. Why is Steven Spielberg a great filmmaker? What makes him a great filmmaker? So many people say that he's a great filmmaker. I believe he's one of the greatest filmmakers, but why is that? When you look at his work, what stands out for you? Why is John Williams a great composer? Why was Miklos Rozsa a great composer? What about that music really set them apart? Come to understand that and understand the components. How does a costume designer go about her work or his work in designing the evolution of the story being told through costuming? Same with cinematography. Why does this film photographically feel different from this film? What's the power of a wide shot as opposed to an extreme close-up? Why keep the camera still as opposed to dollying or doing Steadicam work or vice versa? So I would say absolutely understand foundationally this incredible back history and present history of film in all of its aspects. That's so very important. Learn the quote unquote rules. Why are most films divided into 3 acts? Why? What typifies a 3-act sort of a film? And then throw away all the rules and everything you've ever seen, and you let that story that you want to bring to life find its own life. You give it life, and you give yourself permission to break all the rules, because at the end of the day, you're not living life, and you're not living life as an artist to fill someone else's mold. You want to nurture your own gifts and your own creativity, and feel free to make mistakes. And even if everyone is looking at what you've created here, let's say your script, let's say the rough cut of your film, and is saying this doesn't work, take in what they have to say, listen to it. Maybe there's some good points there, but at the end of the day, discard them all and be true to who and what you are. Some of the most extraordinary filmmakers break rules and set new rules, which should then be broken themselves. So learn the language, if you will, in all of its facets, and then break all the rules. And you let us know what filmmaking is in a way that we've never known it before.
Wow, that's a really good piece of advice. I never really thought about breaking the rules. I'm gonna have to start doing that myself, especially when it comes to filmmaking, because I always think about I'm not doing it as the rule says to do, but I know now it's okay that you can break the rules. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we are going to take a break, but we'll be right back.
You don't strike me as the type of woman that would keep secrets.
We all have secrets, Troy.
Honey, you better know Michelle is the best makeup artist in town. Practices on herself all the time.
Everything has a price. You've been running all your life. When are you going to stop running? When I don't have a reason to.
I love you. And I love baby girl. And I promise I got you.
You don't have to do this by yourself. I'm here.
So you don't care?
It's not about caring, it's about privacy.
Why are you so obsessed with this case? Because I made a promise. Yeah, a promise you couldn't keep.
You are one lucky woman.
That I am.
What are you doing? I'm not lying!
Everything has a price.
Welcome back. Today we are having a conversation with Stephen Blake, Chief Executive Officer. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that again. Welcome back. Today we are having a conversation with Stephen Blake, Chief Executive Officer and Producer of Ram Pictures International. For our viewers who may not know, can you share with us about the backstory of the Steal Away movie?
Absolutely. So I was very steeped in directing and producing a lot of music videos, a lot of hip hop and Snoop Dogg and Wu-Tang and Tupac back in the day, et cetera. And increasingly, I became aware that we live in a troubled time.
Mhm.
Young people, especially, are more enraged, perhaps, than I've ever seen them. Furious. A lot are feeling hopeless. A lot of are feeling very restless. Suicide rates are climbing among young people.
Yes.
People checking out and just saying, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know how I can go on. And I felt after some time that I was, in the content I was creating, somehow contributing to that. I was creating a lot of very dark content. I was intentionally creating dark content because that's what my mindset was. As an artist, from a purely dramatic perspective, it's great to be in darkness. That's where the real, sort of grit is. But I realized that it was not working for the betterment of our people, for our young people, the world over even. So I cut off all of my clients and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I took some time. And after a while, I began to really say, it's time that we create powerful, theatrical, global entertainment that is spectacularly diverse, that delves into rich stories that feature protagonists and even antagonists of color. And if you think about the history of the motion picture business, I mean, the epic motion pictures that have been made, the epic films don't involve protagonists and characters of color. Les Mis, you go back to your Ben-Hurs, you go back to your Gone with the Winds. A lot of films have featured people of color, but they're smaller scale. They're more modest. And they don't conquer the world. They don't conquer hearts the world over the way many other films do. And it would be as if stories and history that involve us, fiction and nonfiction, aren't necessarily worthy of being brought to the screen. And so I began looking for content that would launch in a new motion picture paradigm called Realm Pictures, which is what our production company is, and that we would regularly produce nothing but theatrical, global, spectacularly diverse entertainment. What Bridgerton has done for Netflix, its most successful series, what Hamilton has done for the stage, we clearly see the world is hungering for. And we want to bring this to mainstream motion picture theater. So, but flashing back a little bit, I was looking for the property, how could we launch Realm? What story would really captivate the world's imaginations? And when I say that, I mean teens in China, older people in Poland, middle-aged people in the Czech Republic, Lagos, Nigeria, Peoria, a really universal story. I'm talking about those stories, those movies that are beloved for decades and decades and decades and decades. I wanted one of those stories to bring to the world to characterize and emblemize all that we're doing. So I was looking and looking and looking for properties and properties and properties. And as it turns out, my wife and I had hanging above our fireplace a portrait of this choir of young former slaves. It was a print of this portrait, and we just had it there as decor. We didn't know their story. And we said, okay, I didn't even know their name, the name of this ensemble, or why they were there. I had heard that Queen Victoria had commissioned that portrait, and that's about it. So investigated, found out that their story was captured in this book called Dark Midnight When I Rise by Andrew Ward, began to read this book and was bowled over by this story. In a nutshell, Steal Away is the true story of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, a sensational choir of young former slaves fighting the KKK's reign of terror against their schools, including the fledgling new HBCUs. And they're fighting back not with bullets or bombs, but with these sensational songs of faith and freedom. And Steal Away follows their titanic rise from the darkness of slavery to the glittering ballrooms and throne rooms of Europe as they conquer the world and then have to conquer their own demons. It's an amazing story. It features the strongest Black female lead in cinema history. And if you think about it, in the motion picture industry's 100+ years, there has never once been an epic motion picture featuring a Black female lead, ever. There have been strong Black female roles, to be sure, but they have been encased in smaller movies. I'm talking about Gone with the Wind, Braveheart, The Lord of the Rings, The Godfather, these big films that become classics. This features a young 19-year-old woman named Ella Shepherd, who's one of the most valiant warriors this world has ever known. So when I read the story, it became a no-brainer that this had to be done, this had to be brought to the world. And what's beautiful about the story is it's not a Black story. It features a lot of characters of color, powerful protagonists and heroes and warriors of color, but also it's a white story as well. And also it goes to the White House, it goes to England. Queen Victoria figures into this and the Prime Minister of England. So it's a white, black, yellow, and brown story, which is really, really powerful also because this is a story that will bring the world together. When you think about a Star Wars, like the original Star Wars, its protagonists are all white, but you don't say, oh, this is a white movie. This is their story. It's a movie made for everyone. And what's beautiful about this story is it is a universal global film. So my wife and I, we took out an equity line of credit on our home. We bought the rights to the book and spent some time developing the screenplay. About 135 drafts later, because it's truly an epic story, we now have a team of about 40. We are engaging investors right now to raise $34.7 million for this film. And we are extremely excited about this. We've already launched our casting call. We've had an overwhelming global submission for this with tens of thousands of requested auditions. And we're excited about putting this on screen. This will, think about it. Whenever on screen have you seen a true story of a group of young 14 to 19-year-olds, young African-Americans who have risen to the top of the world, where the Prime Minister of England is bowing down, serving them tea, where they become the darlings of the Emperor of Germany, the Queen of Holland, and Queen Victoria. We've never seen ourselves in a true story in that scope of grandeur, and yet that is actually history. It really happened today. This is a story that will inspire our young people, those young people that are perhaps feeling at the end of their rope, who are feeling maybe kind of hopeless, who are feeling that they can't be redeemed even, will find hope in this. It's about race reconciliation, and it's about hope, and it's about redemption.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard of Midnight When I Rise. I'm gonna have to.
I hadn't either. It was when I discovered this book, I'm like, where have I been? It's an amazing book. And there's also a TV special based on the book called Sacrifice and Glory, about their story as well. And another spellbinding TV story that captures the.
I've heard of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, but I didn't know it was like a big thing. I'm like, now it's another book I'm gonna have to read when I get a minute. So thank you for sharing that. You can hear the passion in your voice. So it's all started with a painting in your living room. So that's really amazing. I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Sorry about that.
No, all good.
Can you share with our viewers who may be, can you share with our viewers who may be filmmakers and actors of color, how Hollywood gatekeepers tried to keep you out? And can you share how you overcame those obstacles and how you, and I want to know how you plan to shatter those strongholds?
Absolutely. So I don't think that anyone in the industry these days, at your major agencies or the studios or at the networks or the streamers, I don't think they say, okay, we need to exclude people of color. I don't think they say that. I think, in fact, they would tell you in any interview that the desire is to broaden the gates still. And indeed, when you look at television and when you look in movies, you'll see a lot of diversity. But again, I say this, you've never seen a Black female lead head up an epic motion picture ever. Think about those most beloved stories that make the most in terms of box office, that they put the most into promoting, those are not featuring artists of color. Now, Black Panther shattered that barrier in that genre beautifully. By the way, Hollywood could have gotten a spine and done that decades before, right?
Yeah.
It took them forever to get around to realizing that, these characters of color will be just as riveting and spellbinding as any other. So, but just as finally, the industry caught up with respect to Black Panther, again, beautifully made film. This is what needs to happen mainstream. And so I don't care if you have the writing skill of Shakespeare. If you're a young Black woman coming out of Morehouse or coming out of Fisk, no one in Hollywood's going to read a page of your script. It's not going to happen because there is a xenophobia that exists in the industry. So the way it works is Paramount, Disney, Sony, they're looking for property, they're looking for materials. They're going to go to the major agencies. Well, the agencies already have their own existing clients and they only want to look within their own ranks. They don't care about you who are out there. They don't have their searchlight set on finding those amazing artists coming out of the inner cities or coming out of the HBCUs. That's not their interest. If you send William Morris Endeavor, CAA, ICM, UTA, a script, and it could be the most brilliant script, you will get a letter, an email back saying, we do not accept unsolicited submissions. They won't even read a page of your script to determine whether it's even worthy of reading or not. They won't even read it. It's get lost and stay out of here. That's the way the industry works. Agents are paid to get their own people work and not to look for amazing talent that's out there. Well, this disproportionately shuts out. In fact, it's really insidious because it practically shuts out many artists, white and Black and yellow and brown as well, who were not already part of the club, shuts them out from consideration. But even more insidiously, it builds a sense into our young people that you even have no hope in that industry. Now, certainly several African Americans have broken through and gotten into the industry. I'm not saying that the industry is bereft of African Americans. Still, the sense is that you can't break into this business. And I have in my email inbox rejection letters from every agency, every studio, every streamer that says, we're not interested, we will not read a page of your script. And let me give you a little bit of insight to this, may be shocking. A lot of your major African-American production companies, and I'm talking about them. I'm talking about that figure there, and I'm talking about that one that we all know and love. Their companies will also say, we will not read a page of your script, and I have their emails. In other words, we function just like the system. And the effect of that is the gateways of opportunity are beyond narrow. And it disproportionately, again, affects us. And what's really sad about that is that if you're an insider, if you're a relative of someone who already works for an agency, or if you're a relative of a celebrity, they'll read your script in a heartbeat, of course. It's open gates for those who are already part of that club. And yet some of the most extraordinary talent has yet to be discovered. I was at a short film screening about, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years ago, roughly, more or less. It's called First Look. It's out of USC, and they screen films of their most promising students. And I love going to these short film screenings of various kinds because I like discovering amazing talent, whether you're talking directing talent, writing talent, actors, cinematographers, etc. And I like to do whatever I can to help bring them into the industry. I was mentored when I was young and given great opportunities. I worked very hard, but I was given ladders and shoulders to stand on. And I want to be shoulders for other people. So I'm at this screening some years ago, and I saw this amazing, roughly 8-minute short film called Fig. And they had no money for it, but it was bursting with talent. And I met the young filmmaker in the lobby afterward. We had a great conversation. He gave me his card and I scribbled my notes on it because I'm like, I'm going to find this brother work. He is great. I still have this card. I show it to people sometimes. And as it turns out, I didn't need to do a thing for him because he was here in Los Angeles at USC. And apparently Forrest Whitaker saw his work, and that was the beginning of the beginning. And that was a young Ryan Coogler. Wow. There are Ryan Cooglers throughout the ranks of African Americans in this nation but Paramount's not interested in finding out about them. If someone else takes a chance on them and they make a name for themselves, then Paramount will go ahead and sign them for a project, or the agencies will. So what we're doing is, rather than shutting out these amazing realms of talent, we are shining our spotlight on them. We are, for our casting, we've already launched, even though we're still raising our $34.7 million now and engaging investors, we've already launched our casting call, a global casting call, as mentioned. We have a phenomenal response right now, and we're actually signing 2 artists as we speak, because we want to discover those brilliant. I did a music video once and the artist said, "Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years." And there are so many artists who are working artists in theater right now who are doing short films, small roles in episodic television, and they're brilliant. It would be our honor to cast them in this movie and to introduce them to the industry and show that you don't have to just lean on your existing celebrities. By the way, no hate to celebrities. May they continue to prosper and thrive, and they've gotten where they have gotten because of hard work. No hating at all. But I want a both and scenario. The celebrity should be working as much as he or she is entitled to work. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, that promising young sister who's working in a small theater in Newark, New Jersey, or here in Los Angeles, or in Peoria, who is working hard on that stage, and everyone around in that town knows she's amazing. Local critics know that she's amazing, but she can't get a meeting in Hollywood. She can't get a rep. She can't get an agent. It would be our honor for her to be in this film and in our movies. So for each of our, and by the way, some of the most successful films ever, the directors had the audacity to cast unknowns. Harrison Ford was working as a carpenter when he was cast as Han Solo in Star Wars. He wasn't a celebrity at that time. No one was in that movie. Superman with Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder, they weren't known to the world at that point in time. The Lord of the Rings trilogy and others. So in other words, even history shows that what the audience really wants are amazing, amazing actors and great characters they fall in love with. And that's even more important to them than just casting a name. So we are, for every film, including Steal Away, we are actively reaching into the ranks of amazing actors and actresses that are maybe unknown. Maybe they have thinner resumes, but you've got amazing talent here, and we're bringing them into the ranks of this film. There may be some A-list celebrities as well that we cast in this as well, but we're certainly going to be introducing the world to a lot of extraordinary artists for every one of our films.
I love it. You're opening up the door for others to, show their talent and shine the light on them. I really like that.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And we'll be doing for future films the same with young directors, writers, costumers, cinematographers, production designers, editors, visual effects artists, composers as well. There are some brilliant unknown artists out there. And even Netflix and Amazon are showing us this, because even as they create regional series and whatnot around the world, we're discovering these amazing artists below and above the line, crew and cast, that we didn't even know about. And, like, for example, take Lagos, Nigeria. That is a major filmmaking center in the world. Great talent is nestled there. Just as the United States warmly welcomed refugees from Hitler's Europe into the United States during the years preceding and following World War II, we also want to turn that searchlight, for example, to the great filmmaking communities in Africa, who are great. There are great narratives there. Just as even right now, many of the studios are turning to Asia and China and digging into Chinese history and lore to make really epic films. Well, we want to turn that same development sphere into Africa as well, and get into some of the narratives and draw out the writers and directors and the costumers. So we will be, and I'm not talking about realm just doing, working with Black artists. It'll be Black, white, yellow, and brown, Asian, Latino, and Arabic, and Israeli, and whatnot, to really make cinema of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I'll just say one last thing about that. If you were to, our model is the Statue of Liberty. So in the over 100 years ago, a young poet named Emma Lazarus was commissioned to write a poem that would go on the base of the Statue of Liberty. And of course, the Statue of Liberty, the woman holds a torch up. And in this beautiful poem. It's called The New Colossus. I believe it's the actual name of it is that. Let me just take a quick look here. Yeah, The New Colossus. She basically says in this very, very short poem that she says, you rich, wealthy lands, you go ahead and keep all of your pomp. You keep your wealth. You keep your membership of the elite. Go ahead and you keep that. We'll take your poor. We'll take your tempest tossed. We'll take those who are struggling. We'll take those who have rolled up their sleeves, are in that sort of battle for survival. You know, we lift our torch and welcome you to our shores. And that's what Realm is. You are an amazing artist. We want you making our films and on our films, cinema of the people, by the people, and for the people. And forgive what you might perceive to be just a little passion along these lines.
Wow, I really like that. This is very intriguing. I think that's why I lost my spot earlier. But my next question for you is, can you share with us about how Ram Pictures International plans to join HBCU's crusade to build meaningful futures for hundreds of thousands of gifted students?
Absolutely. The corporations of this country as a whole, we as a people, we owe our HBCUs a level of support, a dimension of support, a sphere of support that aren't necessarily needed if you're talking about an Ivy League school or a USC or a UCLA, because the HBCUs, of course, bear the burden of educating academically. It's their students. But at the same time, our HBCUs are at the front and center position of also educating our psyches. When you have been historically a repressed people, and I don't believe in self-pity, but you can't get around the fact that we do have a history of oppression. And that is a reality that for hundreds of years was literally passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. And that mindset doesn't go away in the blink of an eye. Even if you lift the laws that enable enslavement, mental enslavement, opportunistic enslavement, physical enslavement, just because you lift the laws off the books doesn't mean the psyche of everyone changes automatically. No, there's a deeply embedded psyche there that then needs to be overturned so that our Black children they reach adulthood with that exact same level of, I can do anything that I want to do. Life is mine, opportunity and hope are mine, that anyone else of any other race has. And that needs to be, by the way, where we are. Every child needs to see themselves and their place in reality as being filled with the exact same promise as everyone else's. And if that's not the case, we need to work to then lift them up and support them so that we can undo past psyche sort of drillings and to open up then these vistas of possibility to them. So our HBCUs bear that burden, and therefore, because of the history of our nation, because of the history of corporate America, and I'm not against corporate America at all. I am saying, though, that a reversal of what has been needs to be. We need to be particularly supportive of our HBCUs, and not just making that, the occasional donation where you have a big press conference and you bring someone up to the microphone and you have an oversized check and make a one-time gift to the HBCU. Right. That's evanescent. That's going to go away. Mm-hmm. We need to commit to systemically lifting up our HBCUs, just as we systemically for so long held down those that our HBCUs are looking to nurture. And so we are building philanthropy into our core business model. We're committing 10% of all net revenues from Steal Away to our HBCUs. And in that sense, we are throwing down the gauntlet for Wall Street and for Hollywood to follow. And we believe that ought to be part of the core business model. At the same time, we are committed to drawing rich talent from the campuses of these HBCUs, literary talent, writers and others, filmmakers, performing artists, actors, and actresses who are being nurtured through the ranks of theater within these campuses, and technical as well, aspiring cinematographers, costume designers, to really drawing from the ranks of the HBCUs to make our films. We want every film that we make forever, because Realm is a new motion picture studio model. God willing, 100 years from now, we will have made 100 films or more. But we want them to be replete with the visions and voices of these brilliant, outstanding minds that are being nurtured on the campuses of our HBCUs. So we are all about then nurturing, lifting up, and setting the example then for the defense of our HBCUs.
Wow, that's amazing. What Ram Pictures International is going to be doing for HBCUs. It's very beneficial. Know a number of students that work in that, not necessarily that work, but major in like film studies at the different HBCUs. So yeah, I'm gonna have to let them know about this. So we're gonna take a break, but we'll be right back.
You don't strike me as the type of woman that would keep secrets.
We all have secrets, Troy.
Honey, you better know Michelle is the best makeup artist in town. Practices on herself all the time.
Everything has a price. You've been running all your life. When are you going to stop running? When I don't have a reason to.
I love you. And I love baby girl. And I promise I got you.
You don't have to do this by yourself. I'm here.
So you don't care? It's not about caring, it's about privacy.
Why are you so obsessed with this case? Because I made a promise. Yeah, a promise you couldn't keep.
You are one lucky woman. That I am.
What are you doing? I'm not lying!
Everything has a price.
Welcome back. Today we are having a conversation with Stephen Blake, Chief Executive Officer and producer of Ram Pictures International. So how can future filmmakers get involved with what you're doing?
First, join us, and the easiest way to join us is to go to our website, realmpictures.co, REALM pictures.co, and join our mailing list and follow us on social media, because we will be announcing many calls for the making of Steal Away and other movies where we will say, let's see your work, post your work so we can see it, so we can consider you to be hired. So if you connect with us through our website, again, through your email capture and through social media, that will begin a communication relationship that will endure, and you will be let in on and invited to participate in many things that we're going to be doing.
Wow. So do you have anything else you would like to share about what you're doing?
I can just tell you that we are at an exciting time right now, and that this is the beginning of, you can feel change in the air on many fronts in our society, with the gig economy, where people themselves are now driving, for example, and earning money, whereas before it was only sort of cab drivers that were doing this. And you see, just in general, the economy is being opened up to the people. People are trading their funds, people are trading cryptocurrency. What we're looking forward to doing is finally breaking those walls of exclusion to the entertainment industry, breaking them wide open, and letting the people here into the producer's room. We are inviting the people to produce our movies with us, to participate from the very beginning to the very end. For example, for Steal Away, if you go to our website, you will see that you can read the entire script. It's right there. You can read it yourself. Studios don't let anyone read their scripts,
Right.
but we're letting you in early on. We're excited about you becoming no matter who you are. You may be an Uber driver, maybe you're a student, maybe you're a clerk, maybe you're a banker, maybe you're an investor. But we're excited about bringing you into that room. We light our torch to make you our partners in the producing of our content, so that the sort of the people breaking into these rooms of opportunity in these other business sectors can now be brought to the motion picture production business. So we're just excited about partnering with you, whoever you might be. And if you're talented, we are looking for you, and know that it will be our honor to work with you and bring you onto our motion pictures.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that was so cool. I looked at your website the other day. I was like, well, you can read the script on here. I didn't read the entire thing. I think there's 2 on the website. I read the one where I guess it's like the first few pages of the script. But I thought it was really well written. I can't wait to see it. So when do you think that the world will be able to see this film?
So we're now engaging investors. At the same time, we are planning a crowdfunding campaign just simultaneously, because we're not waiting on Wall Street to say yes. We're going right to the people. We want to be funded between 3 to 5 months from now. As soon as we are, it'll launch a 4-month pre-production process. We'll go into the principal photography, the filming, which will last 4 months. And then we'll probably have 5 to 6 months of post-production. So this should be ready for a late summer or fall 2023 theatrical release.
Wow, I can't wait to see it. So that was my last question. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to answer a few questions for our viewers. And thank you for joining us. Until then, I'm Mandisa Johnson with Atlanta Film and TV.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Acting for Beginners Live. Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern.
Do not just read.
We talk about acting, the do's and don'ts of acting, how to get started in the acting industry.
It on social media, Mandisa? Why? Stop it. Stop that emotion.
We also have special guests, cast and directors.
Oh, my bad.
Actors.
I'm a very comedic person. My father says that to me.
Producers.
Sometimes.
That's what I'm doing as a director. I'm not
Directors.
teaching you acting. I'm teaching you how to use the tools that you already got.
Acting for Beginners with Danny.
Acting for Beginners Live.
Acting for Beginners Live.
So tune in every Wednesday.
Fire, 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 flames, flames, flames.
Acting for Beginners Live.
See Acting for Beginners anywhere. And my name is not attached. Please let me know.
Acting for Beginners Live. I got you.